If you click on this video, I think that you have a problem that I used to have. Is that you bought a new camera, either it's Fuji, Sony, or even your phone, but your footage still looks bland. It looks too clean, looks too sharp, looks too digital. It looks like a video, not a film. Over the years, I found a specific color grading formula that gets us closer to that film look that we all wanted. For those who are new here, my name is Judo. I've been making content for over 8 months by now, and to be honest, I spend the majority of my time trying to figure it out. How do I transform my digital footage to replicate that film look from the creators that I've looked up to? I just want to save you the trials and errors that I've gone through so you can have it practically right away. So today I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. Let's dive into it. Now, before we start, we need to look into the setup. How do we set the cameras up for our footage to not look as digital? First of all, if your camera has it, and I think most camera has it by now, you need to try to shoot in log color profile. When you try to shoot on log color profile, it will look weird. It looks flat, no saturation, no contrast, no nothing. But that is exactly what we want. Log color profile keeps details in the bright clouds and darkest of the shadows, giving you the control on how you want the edit to be. But now, you have set up your camera, it's time to hop into the ways that we make our footage look film-like cinematic in DaVinci Resolve. Okay, we're now in DaVinci Resolve. This is my editing program of choice. I chose this application because it allows me to do a lot of stuff within only one application. So, to begin our color grade, let's get into the color page, which is right here. Now, okay, stay with me here. It looks terrifying, but it's not that complex. Trust me, it's actually really simple. However, if you see this and you don't want to do all of these, you just want to one click and apply the colors onto your footage, I'll be sure to link my LUT and my power grade in the description down below. So check in the description for the first link. And if you wish to support me, thank you very much, and let's continue back to our video. Now, to start things off, I want you to create 12 nodes by either click Ctrl S or Command S. After we have created 12 nodes, we're going to leave out the first node and the very last node. The second from the first and the second from the last is the most important part of this entire pipeline, which is the color space transformation. We're going to click on the second node, click on FX, and search color space transformation, and then drag it into our node. So what is color space transformation? Think of it as unwrapping the complex and compressed file into this big canvas that we can potentially create our own style into. So the footage that I shoot in is the F-Log2 from Fujifilm. I would definitely want to select the input color space and the input gamma to be from F-Log. But how do we do that? First, I select the F-Log2 within the input gamma, and then select the Rec 2020 in the input color space, because that is what Fuji recommends for us to do. Now, what is our output? As I mentioned, we want to unwrap these compressed files into a bigger canvas, and that bigger canvas that I mentioned is DaVinci Wide Gamut, DaVinci Intermediate. So we're going to select that as our output. And now moving on to the second to last node, we're going to do the exact same thing but the opposite. We're going to select input gamma and input color space to be DaVinci Wide Gamut and DaVinci Intermediate. But now the output is not the same. Output color space, we want it to be a standard color profile that you can view on your phone or on your computer. That is the Rec 709 and Gamma 2.4. Now you may ask, Judo, I don't own a Fuji cameras, I own a DJI or an iPhone. How do I do this? The beauty about this is that it works with every single camera. You just have to change the settings in the second node. For DJI Pocket 3 or Osmo Nano that's shot in D-Log-M, you just have to select the input color space to be DJI D-Gamut and the input gamma to become Gamma 2.4. For iPhone, if you use iPhone 15 to 17 Pro onwards and you can shot in Apple Log, the input color space for iPhone 15 and 16 with Apple Log 1 gonna be Rec 2020, and the input gamma will be the Apple Log. But if you shot on iPhone 17 Pro with Apple Lock 2, you just have to choose Apple Lock 2 and then Apple Lock. That simple. Now, after we have transformed our color space, we need to color correct the image. You might see that sometimes your footage look a bit too dark or too bright. This is where we fix it in the third node called exposure. This we're only gonna look into the HDR color wheel and mess with the global wheel. You just have to shift it up or shift it down. Shift it up if it's too dark and shift it down if it's too bright. That simple. Now there's another tool that I want you to use to monitor your colors. Navigate down to the bottom right and select waveform. This will be a representation of the lights and the colors within your image. This is my rule of thumb. Try not to get the brightest part to exceed 900 and try not to get the darkest part to reach 0. Because there's no such thing in this world that is a true white or true black, which is absolute black, darkest black of all. And another thing, when I'm trying to expose for humans and their skin colors, I will select an eyedropper tool and point it to the human face. And then you will see a circle in your waveform graph. If that circle is between 900 or 500, that is a great range for your human skin. Now, moving on to the things that create the mood, which is the contrast. Now, the things that I like to create is called an S-curve. I navigate to the custom curve panel and then trying to create an S-like figure in the curve. And it's simple. You're just bringing down the shadows to make it darker and bringing up the highlights to make it a little bit brighter. This will create the contrast. And another thing to replicate that film look is that when you see a film, there will be this like matty vintage vibe to it. This is created also in this custom graph panel by lifting up at the end of the shadow part, lifting up to at least the first or the second line, and we're also gonna do the same with the highlights, but this time bring it down 1 or 2 lines. This will eliminate that heavily contrast in our footage and leave this with a matty, vintagey, filmic vibe that we all wanted. Now moving on to the white balance. And traditional white balance are used to correct the temperature of the image, and that's easy to do. Navigate to the color wheel and you will see this temp slider. If it's too cold, move it to orange, and if it's too warm, move it to blue. That's simple. And it goes the same with the green and the pink. But in white balance, we can also create our own style of footage. What I like to do is I love that nostalgic vibe, that pinkish skies, so I like to add those pinkish to my skies too. I navigate to the HDR wheels and look at the light wheel. I move up this tiny dot in the middle towards the pink, and then there will be a slider on the right. I move that up and down to lessen or greater the effect of those pink skies. And we need to counteract them by introducing a green shadow. So I look at the shadow wheel, I bring the dot in the middle to the green part, and I move slider on the right to greater or lessen the effect. Now we're gonna have this nostalgic vibe with a greenish cinematic shadows. That is what I like to do, but you can experiment with your own style. Now to the film emulations. This is the sauce, 100% sauce. But how do we gonna replicate it? The tools that I like to use is called Dehancer Pro plugin. This is a tool that used to emulate the film look by introducing the film stock, the film print or grain, halation, film damage, and all those fun film stuff. I tend to not mess with it too much. I just corrected the input, which is the DaVinci wide gamut that we are editing in right now, and then navigate to the film stocks, and there are tons and tons of film stock for you to choose from. I right now love to create that Japandi look, as I mentioned, so I go to Fuji Film and I want their cinema line look, so I go with the Eterna Vivid. Now moving down to the prints. This is essentially a paper that you print the film on, and of course I love the Fuji look. I love a less contrasty but still give that filmic vibey look, so I go with the Fuji prints. But other than that, I deselect every single one of them because I'm not gonna be using any of them right now. And as you can see, our footage become more filmic, like instant film. Okay, you might look at the footage right now and you might say, it's a little bit too dull still. There's not really a color pop in my image. So that is what we're gonna fix next with saturation. But we're not gonna just move around the saturation slider because that gives a little bit of a cartoonish kind of look, what I love to do will introduce more of a cinematic and fuller and richer colors. By navigating to the node, right click on it and moving to color space, and then select HSV, and that's not it. Right click again, navigate to the channel and deselect channel 1 and channel 3. And now in the normal color wheel, when you increase the gain slider, you will see that you will introduce the colors, and this color is richer, more full, more vivid, and give you that cinematic colors that you want. Now, I know we say that we applied the look already, but if you want a certain color to look in a specific way, how do you do that? Next up is the color node. I use this color slice tool because it's very precise, very easy to understand and to use. And what I do with this is that I like my greens to be more towards of a greenish blue. So I navigate to green, I navigate to the top left of it and click on it to see which color have been affected. And if I don't like that, I will select this part and just move around for it to cover the right color that I wanted to select. And then navigate to the hue, and then I move it towards a greenish blue. And on the bottom of it, it will be a brightness slider and the saturation slider. You can play with this how you like. And the end result, it will give me a more greenish blue to the trees, to the greens, which I love. And now that goes the same with the skin. I make a separate node for it, and then I click on the skin whether it select me the right skin color for myself, but typically it's around the red and the skin part, so I mess with both of them. I just fine tune it and adjust to what I like. This tool is very great if you start it out because it's very easy to use and the result is very pleasing. Now to the things that will reduce that digital look and make it more closer to that film look, which is the effects. I use the same plugin, Dehancer. Because Dehancer, they have this bottom section of film grain, bloom, and halation. And this is what replicates that film look. Before we apply all these effects, I like to move down to the output and then reduce the output to about 50% because I don't want the entire effects to overpower my footage. Now, moving back to the grain, there are tons of grain for you to choose. You can pick what you like and then you apply the effects. And now your footage will look less sharp and less smooth and adds the grain, which is the characteristics of your footage. Now to the bloom and halation. These two things essentially do the same thing, which is create this soft glowy effect around your highlights and around your colors, making it softer and more dreamlike and more film-like. You can select whatever one you want and adjust the strength to however level you want. And this is a great tool to lessen that digital look and get us closer to that film look. And lastly is vignette. I use this to emphasize the subject. I try to move it to cover my subject and then adjust the exposure to not make it overpower the entire footage, but just enough to make the subject stands out. And you can see that we have done almost everything. What's left is the first and the last node. This is just to correct the footage. The first node will be the noise reduction. I use this if I somehow underexpose it or I expose the footage incorrectly and there's tons of grains. I use this to smooth things out. But most of the time, my face will look like a toy. I look like Buzz Lightyear. And to counteract that, I apply the sharpness effect to lessen those smooth, plasticky texture from my face and introduce back all those sharpness and texture. Well, that's practically it. And this is a comparison of before and after. Again, if this seems too much for you, there will be a LUT, Colorgrade, and Dehancer plugin in the description. You can go check it out if you want to save some time. And if you want to see how these Colorgrade works in real life, I have tried it with the DJI Osmo Nano to see whether that camera can really be cinematic. Then you can click right here and I will see you there. See ya.